Good evening, wherever you are. Good afternoon. Good morning. Hello, and welcome to me, not a Dr. Robert again, and another Health Freedom Show. Thanks for joining me. And tonight I've got something really special for you. But whilst we wait everyone to start joining us, I'm going to show you something. So tonight's show is about the energy and the health and therapy of music. So tonight I'm going to be talking to a really good guest, a really interesting guest who's a musician. And I'm going to introduce you to him very, very shortly. But thank you, all you new subscribers who found me as well. And but I'm going to start with something a bit different. And I want you to not focus on me or my terrible piano playing of my new tune, but just focus on Jeffrey, okay? Just focus on Jeffrey for a second. Bear with me. Should we play a tune, Jeffrey? There you go. I'm back again. That was me and Jeffrey. I think I'm going to call it Jeffrey's tune. That one. I hadn't quite perfected it, but yeah, what it was is I wanted you just to focus on Jeffrey the cat, because he just sat on my lap, and I'll just give you a very brief background to it. He was he'd had a bit of a rough day, with a little bit of a flea issue going on, and we had to bath him and just all the flea stuff with him and everything. And he's quite a long-haired cat, and he wasn't happy about it. He really wasn't. So I started just practicing my piano tune, and then Jeffrey, as he always does, he just loves the piano, and he comes and sits either next to me or he'll actually sit on me. And that's where I think that piano playing or music, you can really see how it affects animals, because I mean, no one says to them, right, you've got to like this, but you could see on Jeffrey's face how much he really enjoyed that tune. Well, as badly as I played it, but one day I'll hopefully play it better. But that was my new tune, and I think I'll call it Jeffrey's tune, maybe. So again, thanks tonight. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. There's 14 of us watching right now, and thanks for everyone who's going to watch the replay. Let me just say hello to a few people before I introduce the guest. Hello to Lynn Anderson. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Kitty. Hello, Chris. Miss Blue Sky. So there's a few people so far. So tonight, my guest tonight is a music man, and I discovered this person about 6 months ago, and I thought he was really, really interesting. I was so impressed with the way he could play guitar, because being a music person myself, and B, what a philosophical person he was as well. I couldn't say that. And so yeah, he's someone who's got his own YouTube channel called The Mystery Show, and we're going to delve into that and try and unravel some of those mysteries. Do you like what I did there? Yes. So yeah, and oh, hello Annette as well. I've just seen Annette. And so without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Steve Turgoose. Here he is. Hello, Steve.
Hello there, Robert. Hello there, chat room. It's good to be here.
Now, a lot of people, Steve, I reckon, will know who you are. But for those who don't know you, tell them about your show, The Mystery Show, and what its format is and everything, Steve.
Well, the mystery show really, it was, if I go back to the beginning of my channel, it was just the idea of speaking some philosophy. I had a lot on my chest, and I used to go out for a walk in the forest, talk to the trees, and then try and put it on I had, I think, 5 minutes recording time, or 10 minutes. I'd get on this little recorder, and I'd go out there and I'd try and jam all of my thoughts onto this little recorder, and I'd upload it. And it was fascinating, the reactions I was getting from these little videos. And I tried doing some responses to different YouTube channels and things, and after a while it was good. But
Oh, we've paused Steve there. We seem to have lost Steve for a second. He's frozen in time. Well, Steve's, let's just see what's happened.
speaking
Maybe
anyway,
oh, there you go. He's coming back. Steve, we've lost you for a
yeah,
second there.
around this time, somewhere on my own show, I get a little bit of a breakup as well. It comes
Oh,
and
do you?
goes, and it should be back. And
Okay.
so yeah, we'll see if we can work through it for a while.
Yeah, go
So the
on.
idea is I wanted to play music, and I also had this feeling that there's like a distance between the philosophy and the music. The fact that you could be a musician, but it was dangerous to talk about philosophy, or people try and choose.
I don't know if anyone else can hear Steve. He's broken up again. Look, I'm just going to remove Steve for a second, and then we'll come back to the show. Hang on, let's just remove it. Oh,
I think we're
he's
back
back.
again.
You're back again, Steve. There you go. Let's try again.
We keep getting these fluctuations for a while. It should hopefully stabilize.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea of bringing music and philosophy together, and obviously walking through the woods was no good. And also the other thing is, like, if you're talking to a camera, you can easily decide not to kind.
Oh, this is a shame. I seem to have lost Steve just for a second, so bear with us.
Yeah, I think it's one of
You're
those
back again,
crazy
Steve.
things we have
Maybe
to
it's
deal
busy.
with.
It's because it's a busy time, because you're based in Germany, aren't you? So maybe it's just busy where you are, your internet and stuff.
Usually I get a phase of this around 8 or 9, like, I think 8 o'clock actually normally. Anyway, yeah. I don't know how much is coming through what I say, or when it breaks up.
You carry on. Just carry on, Steve.
Yeah, we just carry on. If we miss it, doesn't really matter, does it?
No, it's fine.
They can ask questions in the chat, and so the idea really was just to bring a live show to see if it works. So I had the opportunity of not only being a musician again, because it was like lacking in my life, being able to play to people.
This will clear, everyone. Don't worry. This will clear. This will clear.
we're back.
And we're back again. And you're back in the room.
Yeah, so I try and keep the concentration.
So yeah,
But
you
it's
wanted
not.
to
I mean,
do. You missed live shows. You were saying, Steve. That's the
yeah,
last bit that I got.
yeah, like the aspect that you when you say something, you can't take it back. You've said it. It's not
Yeah,
like you can make a video presentation and edit it or do it again. You know, when you're doing it live and you've got even just one person as like a testimony to see what you said, then there's a different kind of energy that happens with you.
yeah,
You're like in a flow, and it's like surfing a wave, and you have to just go offline if you lose the flow, because you know, and that was something that's important for me to make it like alive. Otherwise, video making and making art for me, if it doesn't go into a public realm, it doesn't feel like it's alive yet. It needs to reach the people. And so also for a persona, for a person to be alive, to talk with real people, to have that real interaction, that's a really important thing for me. And on all levels, in a text, in chat, I've had some fantastic relationships with people who with just text, with messages.
yeah. And I mean, when did you start going from doing your walks in the country to then doing the ones in the studio? Was that in lockdown?
No, it was much earlier. I've been doing this. I've been doing the online show since Google Hangouts first arrived on the scene.
When was that?
When
Sorry, I
that,
don't know when that
I
was.
think that was maybe 2010. Maybe
Oh,
somebody on the
right. Okay.
chat would know.
And did you? I mean, did you ever get? Because I remember you saying to me that you set your studio up for your band for other members of to be able to play with you. Did that ever happen then?
Occasionally, once or twice, once or twice.
Right.
And for me, it was always the case of trying to get something established that wasn't going to happen just a few times, but I wanted to like set it up for the future, so that it's like when you put effort into setting something up, you want it to like carry on,
Yeah.
And I knew that would be possible with getting the band on the road. I thought, okay, we're going to be on the road. I won't have time in my own studio, but then I can take the show on the road and be on stage and talk to the camera and bring the audience with. And there's a lot of interesting characters in the band as well, more entertaining than I am, I'd say, funny and hideous, whatever. Entertaining characters that have kept me entertained throughout my life. So
Yeah.
it's not a sort of a superficial sort of aspect, but people, for me, genuinely having a teams of people around me was always a wonderful thing about being a musician, really.
Well, Steve, where does your name come from? I'm fascinated with your name.
I've done some research. It's been difficult to track down. The only real places that I could find it is in Scandinavia, and
Okay.
or in like it comes from Danish, and I think it's Thor is Thor,
Right.
and Goose I think comes from ghost,
Okay.
and I think generally the goose is connected with the ghost because of the way it looks and flying and things like that. I'm not quite sure. I think it comes from the Danish, and I think it was like changed a little bit in the way it was written when it came over to English. But it is quite a rare name, really, I think.
Yeah, I've never heard. I mean, I was telling you just before we went live that my name's quite unique. I mean, my name's Brallant, and most people don't even know this, but it's a French name, or Brallant, if you want to say it properly. Yeah, I was fascinated by your name, and just so people know, Steve is based in Germany, but obviously he's an alien living in Germany because he's obviously from the UK. Which part of the UK are you originally from, then, Steve?
I'm from Lincolnshire.
Ah, Lincolnshire.
Yeah, I lived in Lincoln for a while as well.
Yeah, because you've definitely got an accent there.
Yeah. And yeah, I started learning to play guitar when I was, I think, 15. 15, yeah. I was still at school, and I used to hide in the attic instead of going to school, so I could And me and my friend, we was like really into AC/DC, Saxon, Led Zeppelin, all that type of music. I remember
Hmm.
hearing like I was raised in a musical family. My father teaches guitar, classical guitar, but I was never interested in learning guitar at that point. And then I had Stairway to Heaven, and I had just a
Led Zeppelin.
different, yeah, Led Zeppelin, and like the way it begins with a classical guitar, then moves on to I think a 12-string guitar and an electric guitar, all of these different guitars. I'm thinking, yeah, you've got like a real massive choice there. And it's actually fairly easy compared to Bach or Beethoven or something like that. I was thinking, I could do this. I've seen it done. So it inspired me to get an electric guitar. Me and my friend, we made a band. It was called Evil Demon. We were 16. And he got
Evil Demon.
Evil Demon. Yeah, we got a really nice letter in for it. And had it on our bicycle trailer with our
And were you able
equipment.
to read music, or were you literally just?
No. Just picked up a guitar and started imitating, or like learning "Smoke on the Water," "Stairway to Heaven." The things that you love, the little bits of songs that you love. Just
Yeah,
I like, wow, I can play that, and like that effect of hearing what you're doing sounding like what comes out of the record, or
yeah.
from the music. Is you play a chord and it's like, oh, that sounds like Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin, and wow, it's such an amazing resonance there. And so we liked, me and my friend, we was into Rush and Black Sabbath and these lyrics. And so my friend got a library ticket, and we'd go down to the library. It was like 16-year-olds looking for weird words and things. We found a word, Zoroastrian, and Zoroastrianism is like a religion, isn't it, from Persia? And it turns out like Freddie Mercury, I think, is a Zoroastrian. And things like that.
Really?
We're finding out all this kind of, yeah, like Zoroastrian. It's a Persian religion, and
Oh,
and it's like all of the scriptures are songs. I think they're called Gitas, Avesta Gitas or something. In any case, we was like always into the idea of music with real philosophical depth to it. They were like listening to the rock music of the 70s. It always seemed to have a deeper meaning that was hidden below the surface, and I think a lot of it did as well. So we
well,
was trying to put in the same deep meaning.
the conspiracy is, isn't it, about like when you play certain records. I've got my turntable down there. You can see it here. Yeah. And if you play certain records backwards, it's got some devil music and devil words in it.
Yeah. Like Ozzy Osbourne was good for that, like Black Sabbath, and Pink Floyd did a few, didn't they?
Yeah, you got to listen hard, and I think there's a lot of exaggeration, and for me, I've heard all of those conspiracies
Well,
and things like
there's
that.
two types, isn't there? There's two types. So like in Pink Floyd, The Wall, there's a message backwards. That's literally they recorded it backwards,
Oh,
and when you turn,
yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
I do remember that
welcome
because
to
that's one of my
the
favorite albums, The Wall.
yeah, and then you've got the other version where if you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, the lyrics all say something different. You can look online and you can see all of these. It's fascinating. Oh, there's other like another one, Bites the Dust by Queen. Is
Yeah.
apparently Time to Smoke Marijuana, and it's kind of unbelievable, really. But I think that's just a coincidence. But
What was your
it's a
first
nice
gig you
one.
went to, Steve?
My first gig that I went to, I remember used to go into a lot of like the Chieftains.
Uh-huh.
The Irish band, the
Yep.
Chieftains. I remember
Yep.
going to see the Chieftains. I think the Dubliners. I was very young at the time. My father loved that Irish music, and we used to go, and it was amazing watching them all dancing, and all the young lasses dancing on stage, and like helium pipes, and the energy in the room, amazing.
Yeah.
The first rock concerts, I haven't really been to that many concerts, but I went to see Ozzy Osbourne, and
Yeah.
it was brilliant. It was just a brilliant energy. You could see, like, back then they had people like these characters on stage with what you would call nowadays egos, I guess. But
Yeah.
without them, life wouldn't have been the same. Life wouldn't have been the same without Lemmy or Ozzy.
Yeah. And it's funny you should just said that there about going to a gig, and it was the energy, and that's again what we're talking about, music and energy, and you can see the delight in your face when you're thinking about it. I
Hmm.
can see that there, and it's like it's you're reminiscing there, and you're remembering, and again that's something that's a health aspect, isn't it, to us now?
Hmm.
I mean, I
Absolutely, yeah.
I remember my first gig. My first gig. I mean, I never knew how amazing they were at the time. But I remember being taken along to see Earth, Wind and Fire, and they did magic on the stage, Steve. They were
Hmm.
doing. Did you know that? They actually had like magic tricks and things like that.
Oh,
And
well, I didn't know.
yeah, they would do like magic tricks, and I remember one thing, like this like globe Earth came down right from the back of the show and landed on the thing, a bit like like how the Electric Light Orchestra, which I shared with you, is one of my favorite bands. When they did their Out of the Blue album, and they came out of a sort of a flying spaceship, didn't they? And at Wembley,
Hmm.
and they did that. I mean, that's all of that's gone now, hasn't it? It's just disappeared. That sort of character of artists and things, and it's all become very methodical, very electronic, and like you say, the characters seem to have got lost now from music.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about the recent Madonna concert that I saw, and I mean, I don't know if Madonna was different back in the 70s, in the 80s. Yeah, 70s a bit early for Madonna, but yeah, I think the last concert was almost morbid,
Yeah,
and it was like yeah, I can't really explain it, but it was like this very morbid kind of ceremony,
yeah.
like almost like some kind of cult death ceremony or something. But
And what
it's
you actually went to the concert, or was this
no,
on
I didn't.
telly?
I just watched it on a
Was
YouTube
that the
clip. You know,
Eurovision one?
I can't remember. There was all walking upstairs and then just falling
That
off
was the
backwards.
Eurovision one. I remember
Yeah.
that. And if you were watching it live, her voice was absolutely dreadful. And then when it was replayed, they'd overdubbed it, or they'd put they'd improved her voice. But when you watched it live, her voice was absolutely dreadful. And yeah, there was a very much like some sort of ceremony, and that's where music has turned into, isn't it? It's like they've taken over like music and turned it into something very much cultish, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, and now to mention the auto tune on the voice, this one keeps coming up now more and more. I'm seeing it, like it was very subtle at the beginning that they'd add this auto tune processor to the voice
Yeah,
just to tune it in a little bit, and it was really useful for backing vocals, for example, because it sits them right in the mix, and like the backing vocals need to be in tune. So live, it was good. But
yeah,
like years ago, you always had the real singer singing, and then over time they added more and more auto tune. These days, uh, probably 90% of all popular music is auto tuned, and
yeah,
it takes away something from the music that's organic. It's almost like um, taking vegetables and making them processed, so they've got no vitamins in there anymore. So that's the way I sort of feel a little bit about it. And no doubt about it, the electronic music is fascinating, and there's a lot that can be done with it with the right consciousness. But just to simply robotize human beings has really the digital age has had a big effect on music, and I think on the healing qualities of it as well.
yeah. Well, we talk. I mean, look, we can talk about the healing qualities of music. I mean, do you go along with the conspiracy of the whole thing, where they changed they changed the hertz from 443 to 440? Do you think that was deliberate? Or I mean, I've heard it was so that they could have more stringed instruments and brass instruments be able to tune into that as well, so it incorporated more bands. But then I've heard the other side that music at 443 is much better. It connects with your soul more. I mean, I don't know about what you think about that. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I've looked into that a lot over the years. I remember first hearing about 432 hertz from
432, yeah.
Marco Rodin's vortex-based mathematics. I was looking into over unity and free energy machines, and I stumbled across this Marco Rodin. Yeah, and
Yeah,
he was talking about like, yeah, it's worth looking into him. He's got like an enneagram made of 9 numbers, and they're connected in a certain way: 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. So like it's like a musical octave all the time.
yeah,
And to put it short, it was an idea about making coils and electronic windings,
right.
and like fascinating stuff. But that brought me like that obviously opened up the doors for the music, and I don't know if that's where that 432 tuning came from. Um, I think it possibly did. I know that like years ago when they had orchestras, different orchestras were tuned to different frequencies. You'd have like 433, 434,
Yeah,
maybe 430. So there was a lot of differences in different countries, for example. So as like orchestras started to go on tour and meet each
right.
other and move to different places and mix, then they would realize, yeah, we've got different tunings going on here.
Mm.
I don't know how a standard tunings even in each country would be set up. I would imagine an orchestra would have some kind of tuning fork,
Yeah,
and each different country probably had a different kind of tuning fork. And then it would also, for me to be highly considered, how, for example, a church or cathedral would be built. Because if you're building a piano or a guitar or any musical instrument, you take into consideration the dimensions, so that like the guitar has got a particular size, so that it resonates in a particular way. And I would imagine that churches back in the day, one of the main functions of churches would be the sound. It would be the ultimate venue. Like if you imagine a village without a jukebox, without a radio, without any music, just people in the houses, like to go to a concert, there'd have to be a building that was worthy of like pushing out that amount of resonance and sound. So it would have
yeah,
also made sense to build that building around a particular frequency. I would say, if I was the architect, I would suggest that to the lads. You know, I build this at these dimensions, and you get the best resonance when you're playing at 430 whatever.
yeah,
So it could be in different countries where you've got different inches, and you maybe got slightly variations on that. But I would say, yeah, that the size of the room and the way the guitar is tuned to the room is far more significant than anything else. Like if I'm in a room and I tune in my guitar, there's a certain point where the guitar just becomes louder
yeah,
and fuller in that room, and it can be halfway between. So for me, that's the main thing, is not to really trust any systems necessarily, but to have that as a basis point. I think the 440 idea, it seems to go to me to go along with everything that's modernization. It almost has like this symbol about it. I mean, 440 adds up to 8. There's
hmm,
certain reasons why that would be a special letter,
right. Okay.
a special number. But it actually plays directly into the conspiracy world. When we sort of say, is it a conspiracy? I think to myself, well, there seems to be a massive array on things that you could consider a little bit anomalous. You know, for
Mm.
example, 666 appearing somewhere accidentally on purpose, and you say, well, regardless of what it refers to, it always seems to add up to a conspiracy, whether it
Yeah,
is or it isn't. It sort of focuses. They could have made another number that wasn't a conspiracy number, maybe, 439 or something. So it almost feels to me sometimes like somebody or some organization, standardization, wants to own it, if you know what I mean. Like they want to be the ones to set the number. Um, I do personally think that a little bit lower is nicer.
yeah. I mean, I've heard music played at both, and where people have have played both instruments, or both like the same tune, one at 432 and one at 440. And thanks for correcting me about the 432 there. And I personally feel it's a much warmer sound at 432. I do feel it resonates within your body, and I just want to go back to what you were saying about like the churches and about the resonance. I remember like reading also and seeing someone do a chat about the way that the violin and the cello is twisted at the end, isn't it? To give us,
It has a role, yeah.
it has a role, doesn't it? You know, the spiral, which you were just talking about as well. And in churches, you know, and cathedrals, they have, you know, cymatic windows, and cymatics has got, you know, if no one's ever seen that video about cymatics, where, you know, they put sand on top of things, and then they start playing vibrations, different vibrations, don't they, through for a speaker, and it changes this, and it starts creating these cymatic patterns within, you know, with the sand. And to me, that just shows you about how energy affects us. And I was talking, and I'm very much into this thing about where I think what you were just saying there, that churches and cathedrals were healing houses and energy houses, and the organs, you know, because we got a lot of organs, didn't we, in the churches. I think the organs were about healing people's organs. Literally, it's there in, you know, it's there in black and white, isn't it? It's saying, and also through the cymatic windows, it would heal the land and help the vegetables and the fruit and veg and people to grow. And I'm very much into that, and I think that's part of our history. That, I mean, I can never prove it, but that's possibly has you know, been hidden from us again, because so much has been hidden from us. I mean, Tesla talked about 3, 6, and 9, didn't he? He said,
Yeah.
and what do we have? You know, we have. I mean, I take fish oils every day, and it's omega 3, 6, and 9. You know, so it's funny how everything seems to be linked there, and 9 seems to be one of their numbers as well, Steve. I think
Number 9, number
number 9.
9. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beatles number 9. Or yeah,
Beatles
there's
number
so
9.
many.
Yeah, but song number 9, wasn't it, or something like that? You know. And by the way, everyone, Steve is going to do a tune, so please remind me at 1:45, because we want to try and plan this properly, because you know, where Steve's personal situation, he's got to keep the music low where he lives and stuff like that. So we're going to have a tune from Steve about 1:45. But in the meantime, I do have some other questions for you, and you've answered a few already. So what did you do beforehand, Steve? Before you were a musician? I mean, have you had a particular trade or anything?
Yeah. Well, really, when I was a little kid, the first thing I remember, I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to draw cornflake packets, snap, crackle, and pop, and stuff like that. I really loved that. But I kind of soon realised that you couldn't decide what you wanted to draw on the packets.
Yeah.
I got into it. I was into recording and stuff, messing around with recordings and eating bottles. I remember that was as a kid, and then getting into electronics. And then I got into computers and took to that like a duck to water. But
Did you?
Yeah, I started writing programs immediately, and I even to
Wow.
this day, I don't know really where I got that knowledge from, because there was nobody else in my life at that time who could program.
Were you good at numbers? Were you always good at numbers?
No, not at
Isn't
all.
that funny?
It is. I'm good at like algebra, like with the A plus B equals C. C minus B equals A. It's like that's a formula, but the computer can put the numbers in there. You know, it's like the computer is a big elaborate calculator, really.
Yeah.
So
is that something you still work? Do you still enjoy working with computers?
Well, I started when the internet came about. Obviously, through being a musician and having bands and running projects, I started learning how to program websites and use the internet. Obviously, I think I first got a computer when I could see that they could burn CDs, when CD burning started.
Yeah.
Then I saw the use for a computer. But back in the olden days, where like we was messing around with ZX Spectrums and things, the computers just weren't powerful enough anyway. And
No.
I went to college for 3 years to study electronics in England. Television repair. I was learning guitar at the same time, and I wanted to, like, I always heard Jimi Hendrix would build his own electronic stuff, and I thought, okay, I've got to get into electronics a little
You
bit
like
more.
those funky sounds those synthesizers were making.
Just like all the pedals, as many pedals as
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
wah-wahs, and
Wah-wahs, yeah.
I love electronics. I just love having the back off a piece of electronic equipment and seeing how it works. It was always until things started to become so small and inaccessible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that. Learned electronics. I did try and get a job as a graphic designer, but I didn't get that job. By that time, I'd found a band and joined the band.
Yep.
And we played a little bit, and we was like a blues rock band. I'd say, like, rock. I played a lot of, like, very much like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, sort of fast Dave Gilmour, that type of guitar.
Yeah. Yep.
So I joined this band, and we was going down well with the bikers, like the motorbike clubs, and we was like playing at rallies, and got contacts in Germany to play some rallies, some biker rallies in Germany. So we went over to Germany and played these concerts, and people liked what we was doing and requested more. So we never really had a management. We never had labels. It was all sort of like homemade, and just left the country and just got all the support from the fans, really. Without the fans, we would have never done it. But they were putting on concerts and just becoming active because they'd seen this British band had come over, and it was pretty wild, and they could book us. And so that's
The Beatles
that's another
did a German tour, didn't they?
They would open in Hamburg, yeah.
Yeah, the Hamburg
at the
recordings
Cavern
they
Club.
did.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. They did like the Hamburg recordings, didn't they, and things like that. I remember.
Yeah.
And did you have a big following? Was it many?
Well, it was. I don't know. I always thought we'd never made it. I always thought we was just an unknown band. But over the years, like, so many people have, like, said, it was a brilliant time. I'd say we'd played concerts of like maybe 1,000 people. Like a lot of concerts are a few hundred people. Played a few concerts of maybe 5,000 people. So it wasn't like the mega concerts, but we played a lot. And like we basically lived with the fans, or we toured all that time. We was like on tour maybe 3 years or something, just touring, and maybe we'd like rent a place for a few months and live there and practice there and set up our base there, and then move to another place. And so it was very much like, in a way, like gypsies moving around from concert to concert, and people like organizing these concerts. And for me, that was a fantastic thing to see, how music can bring people together, and how that's like the band and the music are bigger than the people in the band. It's like when we think of Pink Floyd.
Yep.
It belongs to us, doesn't it? It's our band.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to Gilmour.
It doesn't matter whether those two are arguing. Dave Gilmour and who's the other guy?
Roger Waters.
Roger Waters. It doesn't matter whether they're arguing. We still love their music.
It's our band. It's not theirs anymore. They made the album, and it's now ours.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it as a musician as well. Is like, I'm just playing a little part, and everyone's playing a little bit of part, but we've created something so much bigger. And the audience were not. I don't know if it was necessarily fantastic music or fantastic anything. It was just a fantastic opportunity to bring people together. and we were willing as a band, and the audience were willing as an audience. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was a little bit back in the day where it was you could just like the Germans are fantastic at setting up a party. You know, they get a grill party, like they'll get beer tents up and beer on the pump, and you know everything
Mhm.
set up. And the English are really good at going over and wrecking it all, and they like that. You know, they like it when we fall over and wreck everything. But yeah, it was that's something that keeps me going, is like the fact that was a hidden thing that the music gave for me.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, brought a lot of people together.
Yeah.
And it's like it's something now that's more important than ever before. You know, it's like I'm not as young as I was then, and I could easily say, oh, I'll rest and I've had me good times. But I think would be a real shame to let something like that die, that culture. You know, like if a young band today were playing like in the local pub, I'd love to go over there, no matter how bad the music is,
Yeah.
just to see a bunch of lads and lasses playing some live music and having a
Yeah.
go. You know, and
Yeah.
I'd be there, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Go in the moshing pit, like make yourself ill, do whatever it takes, you know, come together.
Get a smack in the head.
Yeah.
And on that note, Steve, I mean, we're talking about music. Should we do your musical break now? This is a
Yeah,
good.
let's do a little song.
Do a little song, Steve. So, what are you going to
Yeah.
choose for us tonight? You know.
Well, I thought like a nice little short, sharp song that everyone, most people know actually. And I like playing songs that everyone knows. It brings us together somehow. This one's a Pink Floyd song. Pink Floyd are always worth playing. A song called "Wish You Were Here." So
Right, Steve Turgoose, take it away. I'm going to go for a loo break.
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from gray? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, and a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hide ashes for trees, hide air for a cool breeze, your comfort for change? Would you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage? just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. But have we found the same old fears? Wish you were here.
A round of applause, a virtual round of applause here, Steve. Virtual round of applause. That was excellent. Well done. And if you want more of that, Steve, when's your show? Tell everyone. Give yourself a bit of self-promotion.
Well, usually Thursday nights. Thursday night at what time? 9 p.m. UK time, which is tomorrow. The mystery show.
Yep.
It's mystery show because I never really know what I'm doing. Is one of the reasons.
I like that. I like that. I never know what I'm doing.
And you show because it's the shortest way of saying live broadcast.
Yeah, and
really.
you were saying to me that it's one of your disciplines that you like to do. So you're incorporating, bringing people together. Again, that's a healthy thing, isn't it? Because it's bringing souls together. It doesn't matter whether it's through this medium here, where it's a camera, right? It's just that people can feel that energy, can't they? You know, they can feel the energy through your tone of voice, you know, through your smile, and through your singing, and through the chat that's going on live at the time. And I love that as well, because again, it can make people laugh as well. And as long as you've got good moderators in, and you kick out all the idiots that want to just try and ruin it, you know, because there are people there sometimes, aren't there? You want to take a quick? I just want to highlight. I've seen one. I want to show you this. Let's just show you this, Steve. Here we go. I love your temperament, Steve. You appeared so calm and gentle. Your voice is soothing. Is there anything philosophical that you learned that keeps you cool-headed, if you are that? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a good question. I'd say, I'd definitely say I can be moody. I can be a little bit angry sometimes.
Musicians.
Usually people that know me very well, I allow them to sort of see that side. Generally, I've found that getting angry with people getting angry with myself doesn't really have much productivity. I generally say to people, never ever get angry. You know, even though I'd say, well, you will get angry at times, and then you should maybe forgive yourself for being angry. You know, sometimes we get so feel so much in shame for being angry. And I think all of this stuff, like it's okay being embarrassed or in shame or all of these feelings, but you know, like no one's got the rights to be weak in a way. You know what I mean? You give yourself the right to be weak or strong, and you know, you give yourself the right to have the temperament that you have. I think for me, one of the biggest moments, so back to the music in a way, and back to playing guitar. When I was young, I used to get really angry, and I'd have like tantrums and stuff, like a lot of little kids. I managed to deal with that, but I'd kept a lot of it bottled on the inside. Yeah. When I first started playing guitar, I never thought about going on stage. I never thought about being any form of personality, celebrity, or anything. I liked the idea of being on records, invisible. Right. And when my very first concert, I was standing there on stage. The audience was standing there like, you know, rigid, like judges, and the music started, and I thought it just sounds so crappy on stage. It doesn't sound very good at all. How it's not genuine if the audience now like it. No one was really dancing. It felt horrible, and I instantly thought, why did I choose to do this? I hate this. I really hated it, and I got into my real hateful temperament inside. And I thought, I can't escape. I can't just walk off the stage. And I started getting really angry with the guitar, then putting all of this anger into the guitar, saying, fuck them, sort of like that, real anger. And then suddenly everybody in the audience started to like, whoa, like, and get really excited. And then the whole room was like moving, and it was a fantastic concert, but only because I let my energy go into there. Now, obviously, like an anger into the music is fantastic because there's a lot of people in the audience who would love to shout their fucking heads off
Yeah.
at times, but don't have the opportunity. Maybe in the car, but that can be dangerous. So to see somebody on stage who's got a 16 gigawatt PA or whatever, and like singing exactly or shouting down the microphone in the way they would want to, it's like, yeah, at least there's somebody out there shouting from my soul as well, you know. And so that's an interesting kind of channeling thing, putting the emotions into the music. And I think when you do that more, you can start to distance yourself from your emotions in the same way as when a movie gets overwhelming, you kind of automatically remind yourself it's a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like if there's a horror scene or somebody dies or something really bad, it makes you sad. You instantly, something in your brain with most of us instantly says, "Oh, this is a movie." Click out of it, and
Yeah.
you enjoy being sad rather than, you know. And I think that's another thing about, like, you know, having music to go with your own emotions, because a lot of the times our own emotions are a little bit of an illusion.
Do
And we've
you,
got the rights to be angry, but, you know, we give ourselves the rights.
do you think that music has been used for negative ways within life as well as positive? You're talking about all the positive ways there of music and how it connects with people, and you know it has its healing therapies. But do you think go along with the idea that you know music's been hijacked as well?
Well, for starters, the idea of having to try to make a living from music has hijacked music, because everybody needs to make a living.
Yeah.
So if you're a successful musician, there's a good chance that what you're doing is commercially viable, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when I listen to a lot of old 70s stuff, I like stuff that I know would never ever sell. You know, stuff from King Crimson that's just absurd. You would never make that to make money. But
Yeah.
I mean, some of those albums have sold really, really well to people who love like the more experimental music or something. You know, there's a lot of modern music will cause, like back in the 70s, I think you could like release, or 60s, you could release something really psychedelic and people would maybe buy it because they wanted to experience it. It wasn't about how good it was in that sense.
Mm.
These days you've got like X Factor and these talent shows that I think came more and more from the 90s upwards, the 1990s, and kind of gave people this idea about evaluating music. You know, like somebody's singing, are they good? Are they not? Do they get a 10? Do they get through to the next round?
Yeah.
To me, if someone's singing, who am I to judge the sound of that voice? You know, I could say, well, I do and don't like it, but that's not the point.
Mm.
You know, that's not the point of a song, to like it or not like it. You know, it's like it's not the point of life to like it or not like it and reject it or not reject. It's just an experience, isn't it? So I think the whole consciousness of the way that we consume music, and when I say we, I mean, you know, more as a the average normal person who watches a lot of, you know, mainstream and stuff. That is obviously, again, the other danger is that mainstream will just saturate us with the same songs. We'll hear the same song over and over and over again, whether we like it or not. You know, we'll hear these little sound bites when somebody wins a trophy, and then we heard 3 seconds of a "Hit Me Baby One More Time" or some little jingle, and we get completely inundated with these little jingles all the time. You know, all of that popular music that everyone knows. I think the fact that it remains unquestioned is the most dangerous thing. You know, it's like if something's popular, I don't think music can necessarily be evil or good. I think sometimes, like, the most melancholy music, the most beautiful music, can be the most dangerous because it lulls people into a kind of a state of false comfort, or maybe.
Mm.
But I think just the way the mainstream just force feeds people music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you just whilst we're talking about that. Did you ever session and play for anyone famous? You know, inverted commas sort of thing? Or have you ever done have you ever appeared on someone's record that we don't know about?
Yeah, I've got a few appearances, but they're not bands you would know.
Mm.
There's a Russian band
Okay. Okay.
to make a good start, a trumpet player and a keyboard player.
Okay.
Well, what happened is because I started making web designs and all the media and album covers and everything.
Hmm.
I was putting out advertising. I think that was a bit like 2002 or something. And I'm putting out advertising to other people. Do you want my services? And I got a guy come to me who had like several bands. He was a bass player and a producer, and he wanted to create a website. And I made a website for him. And we started talking about forming a record label, an independent record label.
Right.
And so we basically did it together. At the beginning, sort of like I was doing the artwork and all the designs, and we wanted to get like 5 records out. So I played on all of those records,
Right.
and needed to press, I think, 1,000 records. He wanted to do it. He insisted having it all on vinyl as well, which is an interesting thing. That's why I kind of liked it. But I think you have to press 1,000 records before you can get a label code and all of these different things. So we learned a lot in that process, and went over to Berlin, to a Popcom music industry fair in Berlin.
Yeah.
And I was incredibly disappointed because all of the major labels like Universal, Sony, and all of that lot, they just had post boxes, PO boxes. There was no representatives there. There was no stand. There was nothing. So that kind of disappointed me. Met a fair few people there, but anybody would really know. I found it all very disappointed. I did meet one very interesting man, Miles Showell. He's a mastering engineer from Abbey Road Studios, and he was over in Germany doing some like promotion for Abbey Road Studios in Germany. And because I speak English and he speaks English, I was obviously like, it was my job to speak to Miles then when like, he was coming around from stand to stand, and I was like, our stand. And having a pretty good long chat with Miles Showell, interesting guy. He was telling me about his half-speed mastering process. Okay. And what happens, did you know about the half-speed mastering? There's a lot of records that he does, like Amy Winehouse, I think, Solid Air, John Martin, Portishead, Massive Attack. A lot of those bands, he did like the half-speed, the mastering and the half-speed mastering, and he was like saying there's like I think only 2 people in the world that does this, and like he learns it from the old guy who now doesn't. I think he's died. And what happens is instead of cutting the record, the vinyl at normal speed, it cuts it at half of the speed. And it's like saying that way a certain mid-range of the frequencies of the cutting process make the record sound warmer. And that's the rest of the festival were talking about MP3s and download platforms and stuff, and it was such a refreshing break to meet one guy who was just like vinyl was his thing, and us having vinyl as well. We got on really, really well.
I love vinyl. I think I love that. I love that they're remastering vinyl. Apparently, Taylor Swift was the biggest vinyl selling artist of last year. She's really, which is quite really surprising actually. But yeah, I remember when it is. I mean, I used to work for Universal Music, Steve. So, and I was a quality assurance manager for Universal, and I was checking the quality of the products that were actually leaving the distribution warehouse. So I had a great job. I used to sit there with my bins on, just like listening to music and also watching DVDs and listening to vinyl. It was fantastic with a nice little Technics 1200 next to me. and or 1210 as it was then. It was great. I absolutely loved it. What? Let's ask you another question. And so, who was your biggest mentors and influences growing up? Was that something to do with your family, or is that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd grown up with classical guitar all the time. My father used to teach downstairs, and as kids would hear it through the. So I'd picked that up all the time. I guess that was an influence.
Yeah,
What was the first things I remember? I remember, like, AC/DC and stuff in school, just
yeah,
enjoying it. I just remember, like, it kind of, because I was always a bit of an outsider. I felt like that. It was like my music, and Debussy, Claire de Lune, and things like that really got me. But I think the first musician that really got me was like Frank Zappa. I got to admit, Frank Zappa and the lyrics. Although Pink Floyd comes in quite high because they've got a lot of philosophical lyrics.
yeah.
So I'd have to say there, and Rush. Yeah, Rush. I missed out Rush. I think
Yeah.
Rush is probably one of my all-time favorite bands somehow.
Okay.
Probably because it's lesser known, and the others, like, they deserve a little bit more. But I think
I
Frank Zappa is probably the one that's, like, the most.
mm. I met a woman this week, Steve, coming back to the health aspect of music. And I met a woman this week, and she said to me that she sees people, when people sing, she sees their voices in colours. Can you associate to that? I mean, that was amazing. My partner
Mhm.
is a amateur dramatic singer, and it helps her mental health and improve her breathing as well. So it's all part of health and well-being, isn't it? But yeah, I was just amazed that she said, this woman that I met, she said, "Oh yeah, your partner, she sings in tones of pink." And I was just amazed by that. And I just don't know if you've ever experienced something like that or come across anything like that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I think that I do get that phenomena. I think voices are different to me than the music as well. When someone's singing, it's like it's like got a foot in two worlds. One in, like, the philosophical, or in the world of words, and the other one in the world of melodies. Whereas the music it dwells in the realm of melodies. So the music I kind of taste and smell, I think, a little bit as well. Like, if
Really?
yeah, it's like like if you've tasted like a really old brandy or something,
Yeah.
and it's got like that back taste to it.
Yeah.
Like, music's got like that back taste, like like that you can never really point out what it is, but it makes it that unique, and it maybe has a smell with it connected. I think, yeah, taste and smell is maybe there with me, but I would say, yeah, with singing, I could definitely see colours. I
It's
can
it's a
definitely
bit like
imagine
muscle
colour.
memory, isn't it?
Yeah,
When something may have happened a year before, and then all of a sudden, a year later, without you even realizing it, you remember what happened a year ago, and it's like you've got that muscle memory. So
yeah,
that's what you're sort of describing there, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I remember growing up as a kid. It was just like, always like remembering smells from my childhood. And if you'd suddenly smell it again, it's bang, you're back there again, aren't you?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
back with those
yeah,
memories and everything.
yeah. Almost like you're in a. It's like you a parallel dimension shift where you pick up a book that you're reading different books at the same time, and you pick up a different one and start reading that again.
Yeah,
Maybe that was like that smell, and then you carry. It's almost like that you can put things chronologically together in a different way and think, okay, these are all the times where that smell happened, and you could
yeah.
almost link them link them together if you was to concentrate hard enough.
When you present your show, Steve, how does music make you more philosophical? Does it make you more philosophical after you've, like, sung a song? Again, is it the lyrics that then takes you into a different subject and stuff like that?
I think it. I think it essentially it makes me feel a little bit more alive, like a little bit more existent, like I'm a little bit more here. I do have a tendency, which isn't. I'm maybe people would say I'm maybe autistic or something, you know.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of different ways of getting around that. But I think like with playing a few songs, it kind of breaks. It's like an icebreaker. There's somehow
Yeah.
like I get like this ice, and I play this song, and it kind of breaks the ice for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes anything more philosophical. I think what it does for me is sort of make me realize that philosophy is just a thought unless you really put it into. It's the same as music is only a theory unless you play it. Like a
Yeah.
song is only a set of words on a sheet or an idea, and actually when you're playing it, it's not static. It's a process. You can't capture it. You know, again, it's like that smell, that fleeting smell.
Yeah. I've just seen a really good question that I wanted to ask you here. Look, it says from Mia. Hello, Mia. Does he play in 4/3/2 or 4/40? Or is what key as a big music industry get musician playing in the wrong tones that distort the listener?
I guess I do play in. To be honest, I very, very rarely use a tuning device. I'll sit here. I don't know what this guitar is now.
Yeah.
Like some people may say, "Oh yeah," but you like I've worked with like cello players who've said that their intonation is like ruined, you know, because they've got no like frets on the thing. They have to like use hear and feel to know exactly where the notes are, and I guess they call it intonation. And so if you all the instruments are tuned differently and he tunes differently, it's a different like intonation for his hearing sort of thing. Now I argue, like imagine you got a little house on a hill and it's grass, and people drive up to your house and it leaves two little lines.
Right.
And you keep driving all the time, and them two lines, they get deeper and deeper and deeper. And so if you imagine that like you could drive to the left or the right, but that's like 440 all the time, 440 hertz, driving exactly down the same two lines. I imagine that's could be the effect that's happening with the ears when you only use one tuning, is that it kind of wears out those areas most. This is what I'm thinking. So it'd be like, it makes sense to say, right, well, okay, on another one, everybody drive in between, you know, let's try and flatten these grooves that we're creating in there, you know. So to me, it would be almost a health aspect to keep that moving around a little bit as well. The other thing is everybody's different size. Like I started this idea of like humming, like we know the Buddhist overtone singing a hum, where you get the natural overtones of care just through the resonance. And I feel there's a massive healing quality to that. When I've ever had pain, I've always tried using that. And I've always tried to seek for that note that I feel good with. And I think for everybody, it's going to be a different note because you're a different mass and size and weight and everything else. So that's something where, you know, self-discovery with music I think is very important to like when you hold a guitar against yourself or any instrument, you can feel the vibrations through yourself. You know, does it feel good? If I change it, does it feel better? Through, I think that's more the case, really.
I've just seen a nice comment here. Look, Steve, I've got to show you this. When Steve plays, he is gone. He takes you with him if you're in tune. It is a vibe.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
We love Paula. That's right. That's a lovely comment.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I mean, we're talking about health here. It's a health show as well. So, I mean, do you have any health routines, daily health routines, if any? I mean, and that you try to stick by, Steve? I mean, you say, you know, one of your routines is to. I think what you said earlier is a health routine, and that is I want to do my show on a Thursday. You know, I want to bring people together. I want to sing live. because you know that's good for your soul, and you're also presenting something that's good for other people's soul, and you connect with people. I mean, other than that, I mean, like apart from the whole music thing, I mean, I do the whole I just do my vitamins and things like that. Is that part of your life, or is healthy water part of your life, or
Yeah, interesting question, really. I've all because I've been on tour and in a different country, I've never really wanted to go. I never wanted to be ill or take any medicine or go to hospital. I mean, nobody does anyway. But I think when you're in your own little, in your own town, you maybe feel a little bit more safer to, if you feel something is going wrong with you, you go to the doctor. I would do that. But there's situations where I just thought, okay, I don't want to go to a doctor. I can't really. I'll just stick out the pain. And so I think in some senses I've been further down the pain route than a lot of people I know. And for me, one of the main things is like, why do we get pain? It's like, for me, it's like a signal that needs attention. Like if I got a thorn in my foot, it's going to give me pain. So you do either one of two things. You look at your foot and then you get an impulse to just pull this thorn out. Maybe it's amazing how you get an impulse as a healer, and you'd never see yourself as a healer, and suddenly you realize I need to twist my hand 300 degrees to the left or whatever. You kind of, wow, I know in that moment how to heal myself, or there's something telling me from within, as long as I don't get scared or block it. And so I found that was a really important thing to get always closer to. He's like, let's not mess up the natural process as well. Let me not try and intervene with things I know nothing about. That was always my idea. If I feel ill, like, stop doing anything. Let it. I don't know that I wouldn't say that's good advice or anything, but I found through that process of letting go and like sending love and attention into the point of pain was a lot easier than getting scared and worried and scared. So that was one of the main things. Like with the mind to really go into the pain.
Yeah, I mean, did lockdown did you see how people how did lockdown affect you personally, for example, because like we're talking about doctors there and things like that, and did lockdown make you more trusting in doctors, or did it make you more skeptical? I mean, how do you feel about that, because you've got the naturopathic. I mean, I think that medicine was hijacked back in the 1910s by the Carnegie Institution and things like that, and the Rockefellers, and they've taken basically medicine and turned it on its head, and that's where we get the whole quackery thing, isn't it? And they try to like get not let us learn about natural remedies and things. So how do you feel now you've come through that process of lockdown? Do you feel that we're all a bit more distrusting, we're all a bit more trusting, or what do you feel?
Like for a long time before the lockdowns, before any of this, I lost a lot of trust in the system. A lot of trust in the system because of medicines. I found the like surgical procedures in the Western would seem to be good, but the medicine was often like overprescribed. People not trying, you can kind of understand why. It's because like people are trying to organize stuff, and like it all needs managing and organizing, and you can't manage and organize something that's too organic and natural. And really, nature is like, you can't organize nature. Really, you can get a little bit organized with it, but like healing is an individual thing anyway. Like we all heal ourselves, really. Okay, there's certain, that you can get a hip replacement or whatever, certain things that you couldn't heal yourself, but in most of the cases the body heals itself. So to think that you can be like one size fits all solution that everybody gets is a difficult thing. When to be honest, before this whole lockdown situation, I thought to myself, the world's never going to wake up to any of this, and it
Mm,
all seems to work for most people. And I'll just carry on making music and trying to put a message into the music,
mm,
and just keep my mouth shut, really. Because
mm,
I was aware of this miserable, the miserable situation for a long, long time. And I think when the lockdown started, I instantly knew, and I said to all my friends, and it's not sort of a told you so situation, but I said to people, this is not going to be 2 weeks or 4 weeks or a month. This is going to be 3 to 5 years. And
mm.
people weren't believing me, and there was like a few months would go by, and people would say, "Oh, are you getting ready to do concerts?" Can't do concerts. It's lockdown. So for
Mm,
me as a musician, everything was locked down immediately. My
mm.
existence as a musician has stopped completely, really, except for the illegal birthday party or two.
Yeah,
Um, and like you could say now, it's like society's reopened for concerts, but the price of petrol's gone up. People are not feeling like they even want to go out around other
yeah,
people. There's a lot of reasons for staying home now. So I think it's a critical point. But to be quite honest about the lockdown, like physically, I feel okay and fine. But
mm,
mentally, I know it's had a massive, massive attack on my psyche. I think the biggest problem that I've had is like not understanding why the people aren't at least questioning what's going on.
mm,
We like there's not even like I shout all the time, like give me some evidence, give me some proof of what you're saying, convince me, and
mm.
nobody even like wants to start a dialogue about it. It's like, oh, it's already been decided. Move on to the next crisis.
Yeah,
And I think that is for me and probably most people. I can deal with all of the other situations. I think it's just tricking your way through the day. But
yeah,
when to think that my friends or acquaintances or whatever actually believe everything that the government spout out, even when like 2 years later they change the story and to what we was saying 2 years ago, maybe
mm, mm.
I or whoever. Um, that has been an absolute frustrating thing for me. Um, And again, I think for me, the only healing that has been around for the last 2 years is our lot. Like the various channels on YouTube that I
Yep,
watch, the people in the chat room who go to different channels, and there's like a feeling of a community there.
yeah,
And I would imagine that probably all of us are like not really the joining kind of people. I'm not really into joining clubs and gangs, and
mm.
you know, I'm, and I think other people are not either. You know, we're all individuals who organically find ourselves like in the same kind of space and time. Just the same as like you would go and see a concert, I guess. You kind of like the music, and you might meet
It's a
some people
tribal
there.
thing, isn't it? It's a tribal
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, and that's. I mean, that's to me is. Um, I mean, back to the music, it's like almost musical what's happening. We
Mm.
coming away from actually sounds. The way people are starting channels and getting information out there, and I think it is working. I think we'll have an effect of reaching those who need reaching, because I'd feel so alone if I didn't have like-minded people.
Yeah,
And this has been an opportunity for that.
yeah, I feel the same. I feel like I don't want to let the bastards win. And I mean, I lost friends. I bet you did as well. I lost friends through the lockdown because I had different opinions to what they did. I mean, and what I didn't want was it to be something that was going to really destroy any sort of life going forward. And I wanted to try and look for something that was going to be new from it, rather than think, oh, this is it now, this is the end. And I found, like you just said there, I found like-minded people on YouTube and other platforms, that were able to give me a message that, and again, I'm going to use that word, resonated. There was a resonance that I felt, well, hang on, so you're speaking the same language, you know,
Hmm.
and it encouraged me to do what I'm doing as well now, and that is to try and you put your message across with music. I try and put and with your own unique style. I try and put my message across about health with my own unique style, and some dreadful piano playing with a cat and what have you, it doesn't matter, and also some terrible jokes as well. It doesn't matter what, but I'm not going to let the system beat me. I'm not going to do that. It's made me create. I never, personally, Steve, I never thought I'd make products, health products. It's made me do that, and I know, the impact that's already had. And so, to me, I can actually say that from that negativity, I've turned it into something positive. And I think for me, that's what you've got to do in life. You've got to take those kickbacks and think, and then philosophize about it like you do, and think, well, where can we go from here?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I think you do that. You do that with your show, Steve. I really do.
Oh, thanks. I sort of try. I try to fill in a space in my life, and I think in a world where, we can see that reality is like a movie, isn't it? It's like the word narrative has become very prominent since the lockdown, really.
Yeah.
The idea that law, politics, media, you could call it a big lie, whatever. It's a storyline, whatever the case. It's a narrative. And that's also got a musical quality, and like if you're watching a movie, there's background music and it goes up and down, and it's got that, like every story's got that musical quality in it, and we can feel the music of this big concerto of crisis from the one issue to the next. And it's fearsome. It makes people scared. All of the crises that are happening, it's like this big composition. It is almost like conducted and orchestrated as well.
That's a really
it's a score,
that's fantastic. I love the way you put that there. It is, isn't it? It's like it's been conducted like an orchestra. Yeah,
and you have players and you have an audience, and the audience don't know they're a part of the play. The whole, and in that sense, we live in a world that doesn't need to really be based on reality, as we see. And we're often trying to force reality back. We've got this one narrative, and we're trying to say, that narrative's a lie. This is like the reality. But people's minds work. It's like, you have to change the tune. You have to change the melody or the narrative, I think.
yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter if what we're saying is necessarily true, false, or whatever, as long as the energy behind it is taking it in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because we can watch a film like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, all set in different kind of things.
Yeah.
But we can kind of like set that aside, floating candles and magic and stuff. We can set that aside for the morals of the story and the mechanics of the story. And the mechanics of the story are always, like, from an engineering point of view, mechanical. Whether it's Star Wars or whether it's Lord of the Rings, there's a mechanical attribute there. So for us to like keep hold of the mechanics of what we're saying, we can present it in lots of different ways, can't we? That's the world we live in.
Yeah. Do you want to take your? Do you want to take your show into a new direction, or do you just want to let it evolve?
Well, I sort of imagined that I would get more and more viewers. The original idea is I'd get more and more viewers. The more viewers I'd get, the more credibility I'd have.
Yeah.
And the more credibility I'd have, the more I'd get invited to other places, eventually on, Alex Jones or InfoWars or something like that. I'm thinking, if that's how it happened, you would end up there automatically, kind of thing. If you're talking about controversial issues, say.
Yeah.
I imagine I probably wouldn't get on BBC TV. I'd probably get more likely on InfoWars. That was for me. But as you move into it, you start to realize it's not kind of like that. It's not. the people who are on the internet are not necessarily separate from the establishment. And I don't want to like use any names or anything, but sometimes we get the idea that everybody who's speaking out against the establishment is our friend, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and even that's not necessarily the truth. You know, I'm grateful for all of. I'm grateful for all of the people speaking out, whether I believe what they're saying is true or not. I think it's interesting to draw attention to things. For me, that is the and to actually go after people. You know, it's like if somebody's a celebrity. I'm trying not to use too many words and names and stuff, but say if someone's got a celebrity status, that's fine by me. But for a lot of people, it's almost like this is either a new leader or somebody we have to bring down.
Yeah.
And I think, well, that person, just because it's like a well-established, popular person, doesn't mean to say that you have to follow them, or that you have to stop everyone else following them. You know, of course, people will follow leader types. But it's inevitable that you gain an audience. It doesn't make you some kind of like cult leader, does it? You know, that's you know, some fans might make themselves into cult fans, maybe. But you know, this is a little bit of the thing we have with society and the way group identity. We're seeing that a lot, with all the different established groups, LGBTQT, and all of these different groupings. And it's always like about like the weaknesses all join together and like be that group. But it always hurts the individuality. It hurts the individual. But we still have this society where people are looking for leaders. And I think, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say by that, but yeah, because it could go all political and stuff.
No, it's okay. You go political.
Well, I mean, you have like a rock star like Ozzy Osbourne, and people can like take it as fun, can't they? They can put the guy on a pedestal,
Yeah.
and it's good to have Ozzy there. You know, let's lift him up, throw him up 3 times in the air. You know, it's good to have like idols, but not to put those idols in front of everyone. And take someone like Andrew Tate. People are flipping out about him. I mean, apparently he's one of the world's most Googled men or something, you know. And you know, I could listen to what he says. I could agree or disagree. It doesn't really matter. But to a lot of people, they're like trying to cancel him because they see him as like some kind of cult leader. And I think, well, maybe regardless of whether he is or not, I think in itself that form of idolization is a dangerous one. I don't think we idolized musicians to the degree that influencers today are being idolized.
The system controls the narrative, though, doesn't it?
There's a pretty good chance that the system decides at best who to instrumentalize. You know,
like we're not going to. Are we going to push Steve Turgoose this week? You know, we're going to push Health Freedom this week. I doubt it very much. No, let's get someone who's going to really, wind a few people up and get lots of clicks and. You know.
Well, there would be that, but in essence, say if there was something that, say if 1 week you got angry about something quite passionate and it was good, there was a lot of energy there. Maybe 3 years later, that very same topic and issue comes across, and you amongst maybe many other people are then like kind of brought through the algorithms, either automatically or whatever, and for some reason you go along with that flow because you've got maybe like hundreds of people starting to comment on the video and you're getting passionate about it again. You start making more videos and you find yourself just going viral and you don't know why. And you think, well, I made myself go viral, but it was like with the help of the algorithm, or with the help of somebody or whatever, finding out, you was the right instrument for their role. Or you know, maybe they'd choose 1,000 different instruments. And this was always been a fear of, like a kind of a fear that I get set up. And people have been talking about Andrew Tate talking about how he was going to get set up. I don't think it takes a real brain box to work out these types of things. When you start broadcasting, when you get an audience, you start seeing different aspects of life that wouldn't be there without. And so you then start to think about, what if, like, if somebody lied about me, about something, how could I prove that's not true? A false allegation against me could ruin me, and things like that. It could be just somebody trolling around. So obviously it's going to change the way you deal with things. And I think to myself, okay, if I had a message, like, and I was passionate about that message, the chances are that you could be instrumentalized. There'd be absolutely no reason why people couldn't be instrumentalized. I would say that they would only choose somebody that was up to it. Somebody who could actually speak in a microphone when the camera and microphone were on. So there's certain qualifications. But I mean, sometimes the other day I was imagining the BBC technicians phoning up and saying, "Oh, we're gonna sabotage we're gonna sabotage the corporation, and we need loads of like YouTubers to come in and fill in." And there's like Jason on the 9 o'clock news, and they're running this little. It was like a utopia for a second.
God help us, Jason on the 9 o'clock news. He was on something last night, I can tell you.
I mean, presenting it, not. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No, actually,
Oh yeah, I picked taste stuff. That was very good.
Yeah, that was good,
AI
wasn't it?
poems.
The AI stuff. That's it's so interesting, isn't it? When the way it's going with all of that, it really is. And have you got any regrets becoming a musician? That might be
I mean, I've got no regrets in life whatsoever.
I've got some regrets.
It's different. I probably want to learn that again.
Let's start again, shall we? Any regrets then, Steve? Becoming a musician?
Yeah, no, absolutely none. But if I was to do things again, I would probably choose a little mini like a farm, a self-sustaining farm with chickens and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, would you? So that's appealing to you now.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably still play guitar, but I like the idea of doing something and getting like a direct reward for it. Like being a musician is a bit too abstract. You like making airwaves move, and I don't feel like it's not easy to earn money at music in that way. You sell tickets and all of this lot, but it doesn't feel like, if you do something like, if you grow vegetables and sell it to someone, you feel like they've got something. You know what I mean? And it's the same as if like I was working my own land. I know that I could just like work till I die, maybe. It's a fantasy idea, but
yeah. And have you ever gone?
I think the thing to do would be to I would probably have learned like maybe law or something as well, as like in parallel to being a musician. I think it's always good to learn two things in parallel.
Yeah. I mean, you got natural law, haven't you? And you've got different types of law, haven't you? I suppose yours would be the natural law, I would say. Yeah. What about have you ever met anyone famous in the industry? Who's the most famous person you've ever met, Steve?
Oh, no one really, mate. No one really.
No?
I'm not really. Apparently, I've met some. I've spoken to some famous people, like my band colleagues tell me. But I never recognise these people.
Oh, really? That's
good. And we didn't really play on any big like commercial venues. We was more like the wild rock band. We crashed off mountains and we did illegal things to to survive and things. It was like probably the wildest rock band that ever existed.
yeah.
But I did like get into some interesting things. Like I did some film music for a music, what would you call it? Documentary, like a peace march, a pilgrimage. That was it, from Palestine, through Palestine, the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And there was 40 people from Germany, from Palestine, and from Israel all marching. And a friend who I'd met, she'd made this video. She'd gone along with the video camera. She used to work for television, and she went along with this pilgrimage to film it all. And she brought back the film, and I had the job of putting the audio onto it, like some music. She needed some music. So I got together with my friends and we made some like interesting music over this movie. And so I ended up meeting some interesting people there who had nothing to do with music, but everything to do with healing, really, I would say, and peace. One of them, what's he called? Marko Pogacnik, comes from Slovenia, and he used to be in England, in the north of England, I think, or in Scotland, a Findhorn Garden. I don't know if you know that. Like there was a project called Findhorn Garden. It was in the 60s, and they were experimenting with, I had to explain, but like a holistic way of thinking, like growing vegetables, and like it was a little bit like a fantasy, but there was imagining that like the vegetables, there would be like little entities coming through the night, fairies and things. There'd be like water beings and fire beings and different beings, and they would go around the garden and do the work on all of the plants and everything.
Okay.
And so it's like we know this from feng shui, is it? I think
feng shui.
Yeah, that Chinese thing about like the flow of everything.
The flow,
Similar kind of idea, and it was based more off sort of like this Norse fantasy, like what you see in Iceland a little bit, sort of the idea of fairies. And apparently the vegetables and the crops grew wonderful. It was like one of the world's best gardeners. And Marko Pogacnik went on to like put up stones, like on the border of North and South Ireland. There's a couple of stones erected by him, and he feels the flow from the energies.
Pause. Oh. Let's just do I don't know what's happened to Steve. He's paused. Come on, Steve. Earth calling Steve. Come back, Steve.
Yeah, we're back again.
Yeah, we're back again.
So yeah, Marko.
Yeah, so you were saying about his stones, yeah.
Yeah, and he describes it as lithopuncture. It's like acupuncture, but for the land, and bringing these stones in place. And he had I got invited to a 3-day filming shoot with him in Austria, in Bad Gastein, this like valley, and there was going to be 7 stones had been put up, I think, already, and they were opening these stones, and it was just fascinating what he did. It's hard to describe, but for example, one of them was like right at the top of this
Lost you again, Steve. Let's just come back.
Yeah.
Here we go. Is he back again? Oh, he's back again. Your internet keeps going down, doesn't it?
Yeah, I keep getting this little bit of a thing.
Yeah, it keeps like.
So anyway, he's got like these stones, and it's like considered art, I guess. You could call it a form of artwork. But these stones are placed in such places that it draws attention to this place. And you know, the least that happens is that place is kept sacred. No one can just build a house or a ski resort on that place. And I think like fantastic idea. You know, some of these very cunning
It's a shame he's making such good points here. I just really wanted to hear them.
Yeah, I think we're back again.
And we're back again. I mean, what you're explaining there, I mean, I'm very much into that. I mean, I think that's again, it's an exchange of energy. I mean, it's funny what you were saying about growing and things like that. I mean, when I've now got an allotment, and my partner's got her own rather large garden as well, and it's very much an exchange of energy, isn't it? You know, you put in the energy and the work into whatever it is you want to grow, and I think that's like with you and your being a musician, it's about, and that comes out you know, on the screen from people as well. And I think that energy is exactly what you're talking about, even with stones. You know, I mean, you know, we're just discovering now that water has memory. You know, I saw some video I was going to share with people. I'll probably do it next week now. But water has memory, and you know, have you heard of the rice experiment, Steve? You know, where they've written love, hate, and ignore on it. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
You know, energy is just to me, that blows my mind. You know, that you know, and again, I said this before, but if there was one lesson, I think if we could like teach kids that, you know, just do the rice experiment in school, you know, get every kid in the first school or whatever to you know, cook some rice, put it in a mason jar, write love on it, write hate on it, write ignore, and then go up every day for 30 days and you know, just give that one love, give that one some hate, and then just ignore the other one, and then just let them physically see what that energy does to the rice, and then just turn it on themselves and say, now, how do you want to convey to, you know, your friends? You know, how do you want to talk to your friends in the future? You know, if we could, maybe it's just a bit of a fantasy, isn't it? But you know,
I think it does open up a consciousness, though, doesn't it? You know, it's like it takes like somebody to accidentally see something through the corner of their eye that stays with them for the rest of their life. You know, that's like when you think about it yourself. Like there's been these little like mind-blowing things. If you didn't get it from that person or situation, you would not have had it. Simple as. Which is why I think it's important to fill the world full of ideas, good and bad, so that people can choose like from a garden of options. I think the problem with mainstream is that it's not necessarily what mainstream represents, but the narrowness that it's created.
I just want to share some comments whilst, you know, have a drink there. Paula said, humor is like music. Some we get, some we don't. We have so much love, we can share our jokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chris here has said, we should all become taxi drivers in the same town and spread the truth that way. One of the jobs I've never done, Chris, taxi driver. I did think about it once, actually, when in my younger days, you know. So I'm going to ask now, because we're getting nearly up to 2 hours. So I'm just going to quickly ask, has anyone got a question they'd like to ask Steve before we bring this interview to a close? Anyone want to ask Steve a specific question? Yeah, and hope everyone's enjoyed the show tonight as well. And don't forget, you can watch Steve tomorrow as well. His show, the mystery show's on. Have you got your subject yet tomorrow, Steve? Steve's turned into a statue again. See if he comes back. Steve, you didn't pay your internet bill, did you? Come on, be honest.
No.
Come on.
I just have to keep winding it up.
yeah. So yeah. Any particular subject you got ready for tomorrow?
Not really, but one thing that is definitely important for me is like community. You know, this was the one thing about being a guitar player is being with other musicians, like a drummer, a bass player, all different characters, different sounds, different instruments. Each one's individual, but then working together. So that concept, it doesn't have to be music. It can be anything that we work on. If we like often when we come into groups, you get a group mentality. Like you come into the group sort of thing, innit? You know, like you change when we're in a group. But if you were, like, say, a musician in a group, you have to stay that musician. You know, if you're got a particular energy that you bring into a group, you have to keep that energy with you, don't you? So, and in a band, there's not just 5 musicians or 10 musicians. There's a sound engineers, lighting engineers, crew. There's the audience. There's so many people involved. That's what I love about it, because, like, you know, obviously one guitar could make me, others happy, but without others, there's no listener. Without the audience, nothing happens. So for me, that's an important message for people: is it doesn't matter which position you are, you're a part of something, and it doesn't have to be a club or a group or something. But you know, it's like we're all a part of something. We can all contribute to something, and every little tiny contribution. It makes the world of a difference. And the more people make a tiny contribution, the bigger that contribution is, you know. And I'm not talking about any particular type of contribution, but to that central thing. You know, it's like in the moment where I've got the microphone, maybe I'll be saying what the thing is, but it's not me. You know, it's something much bigger than all of us together.
Can I just share a musical that what you're just talking about there? And even the triangle, as small as it is, can make such a difference. I always remember the triangle in Aerosmith, Don't Want to Miss a Thing, at the end, and you can just hear that ding, 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 can't you? I don't know if you've ever noticed it.
I haven't noticed it. I would
have you
listen
not?
to that.
Honestly, right near the end of the song, you just hear the triangle. I mean, maybe it's my ears, maybe I'm a sound man anyway, but you can always hear this triangle just right at the end, and it's like out of all of that magnificent song, which was I forget who wrote it now. It was the lady who's written. She's been the most successful writer. Actually, I can't remember her name now. Maybe someone will tell me in the chat, because it's just eluding me at the moment. But yeah, it always fascinates me that you get that. You know, the production managed to bring out a triangle. You know, something as small as the triangle, just a ding, ding, ding. Someone said, "What's your favorite song, Steve?"
What's my favorite song ever?
What is your favorite song? Yeah. Or do you have one even?
I don't know. I do like Xanadu.
Which one?
By Rush.
Okay, yeah.
From the album Farewell to Kings. I like it because it's got so many different elements of music in one song. It's it's like 15 minutes long or something, or 10 minutes long. It's got a very long song.
I'm just looking up who wrote Don't Want to Miss it, written by Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Diane Warren. That's the one. Have you heard of Diane Warren? Yeah?
It rings a bell, but I've never met her.
Yeah. Diane Warren, she wrote it. Yeah, she's written so many blooming songs. Oh, she's 66. One of those dodgy numbers again.
Oh, how long do you stay 66?
Yeah. I think if you're in the music industry, you must be a bit worried when you hit 27, 33 or 66.
Yeah.
Again, it's that upside down 9 again, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, stars are born, stars die.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's time we're going to bring this to an end, Steve. Steve, it's been absolutely
nice
a great chat with you. It really has. thanks so much for joining us on Health Freedom and being a guest. I never know which direction we're talking about things like that. I never know. I didn't think that I'd ask you on, but I was thinking about music, and you popped into my mind. I love your show. Please, everyone, watch Steve's show. It's great. Sub to him, and you'll see Steve every Thursday. Steve, do you want to pass any little thoughts before we part from this little live show?
I love you. I love you all. Do your thing. Just do your thing.
There you go. And then all I'd say, I love the way Steve, you always say hello, friends. I love that. I love that. I do love that, Steve. Oh, wait, are you ever going to be gigging again with your band?
Oh, definitely.
Doing live gigs again. Have you got anything planned?
I mean, I've got a birthday party coming up. I'm be doing on my own.
Oh, right.
It's always good. Maybe 100 people or something.
Yeah.
Nothing official.
But the band want to get back together, and they want to do they want to do a gig.
As soon as we see an opportunity to try and meet up together, even if it's like just doing online stuff, recording some music and getting a tour sorted out, that's what we really hope to do. So it's probably when the snow goes, like March, it's a good time to maybe start something new.
As long as they don't pull another stupid thing on us.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You get everything ready. That was the big problem, is like, when do you start getting everything ready for them only to pull the rug from under your feet? But I'm appreciative of this platform, and even if we can only use this platform, the internet for a while, then we can get something ready.
I think that as long as we're clever, Steve, we can get around it, can't we? We can use words and expressions and phrases to get around this AI that tries to block us from being able to communicate with each other and things. So I think there's always there's a nice comment here, Steve. There we go. Steve, you do your thing. Everyone, lovely show, boys. Great energy all round. Steve is always worth a listen. And Rob, that you do interviews so well. Of course, enjoyed chatting with all of us in the chat. There we go. There's a nice positive comment, Steve.
I couldn't follow the chat so much.
No, it's really hard, isn't it?
It can be. Yeah.
It's really. I mean, it's really, really difficult to try and multitask, isn't it? It really is. I do find it a bit difficult. So sometimes I try and watch the show afterwards and see what dreadful comments they've been saying about me. Like Jason, I saw that one about saying, has he stopped playing that dreadful piano with that cat? I saw that, Jason. Don't worry, it didn't go amiss. Right, I'm going to do. We're going to do an after show, Steve. So you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. You do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put the invite up now, and I know a few people will definitely be jumping in. So you do what, if you want to jump in, Steve, or you want to leave, then it's entirely up to you. But I'm going to end the show now and say thank you again, Steve Turgoose, for being a great guest and talking about health and music and energy and things like that. And hopefully we'll do another great show again in a couple of weeks. It's time I picked a subject, I think, and tried giving you all some rubbish about health and some more terrible jokes, because it's been too long. I've got my tin here waiting of cheesy jokes. It's all here. Look, see. So anyway, thanks everyone. Really appreciate it. If join us in the after chat if you fancy it. If not, good night. And thanks everyone who's watched the replay. And I'll see. Don't forget, Steve tomorrow, Raconteurs on Friday and Tuesday, and I'll probably be back in maybe 2 weeks. But if I feel like it, I'll do next Wednesday as well. All right. So good night for now, and see you all again very, very soon. Au revoir. Thanks, Steve, again.
Cheers.
Cheers then.